It is time to get excited, Mets fans, because after Noah Syndergaard's comments last night, it seems pretty likely he's going to be back with the team next year.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I'll be honest, last night when I recorded Locked On Mets, I did not wait for the second game of the Mets doubleheader to be over. Because honestly, once Noah Syndergaard was pulled from the game after the first inning, what was there left to watch, right? This is game, was it 157 of a season where the Mets are not going to make the playoffs. So it was fine to move on. But Noah Syndergaard's post-game comments ended up being the biggest story of the night. So I wanted to record a little video today to talk about what Noah said, because it is pretty clear right now after Noah's comments after that game that he's going to be back with the Mets next year. Unless the Mets screw this thing up, he's going to be back, because he talked about, for one, how emotional he was to go onto the mound, to get out of the bullpen, and to hear the ovation the fans gave him. It almost brought a tear to his eye for a guy that's not very emotional, a guy who at times seems like a robot, just built on muscle and bone broth as he walks around the ballpark shirtless. He seems just like this cyborg, right? That's what we always thought about Noah Syndergaard, this guy that will throw 100 miles per hour up and in game, 3 of a World Series, and say, "Come meet me 60 feet 6 inches. I'm not scared of anyone." That's Noah Syndergaard. So to see him break down a little bit, even though he didn't, have a Wilmer Flores-like moment of crying on the field, to know that he was emotional, it shows his connection to New York City. It shows his connection to this fan base. It shows his connection to this franchise. He wants to be back. Now, another thing he said was that he'd be extremely grateful to receive the qualifying offer. And he also talked about, prior to that comment, he had said he was fairly confident he would come to terms with the Mets on agreement to pitch next year, which in some respects gives the Mets some leverage to know what Noah wants. But then he said he'd be extremely grateful for the qualifying offer, which made all the quotes make sense, because that might be the best offer Noah Syndergaard gets this offseason. He has not pitched since 2019. 2019 was statistically his worst season. He still was able to go out there, and I think if you look at the 2019 year and you see what Zach Wheeler's done since, I think the team defense that year probably impacted those guys and their ERAs a little bit more than maybe some let on. But Noah Syndergaard is certainly not hitting the market at the peak of his value. And when you see him throw 96 miles per hour and you see him get those strikeouts in that game, it gives you a little bit of a sense of what he could be next year. When you get to that point, when you are years removed from Tommy John, suddenly things start to fall in place, and guys can get back to being themselves. We've seen that with Zach Wheeler. We even saw it this year in the first half with Taijuan Walker. So to me, a 1-year gamble on Noah Syndergaard is a no-brainer, and the Mets just can't screw this up. Extend him the qualifying offer, and he's back. Pretty simple to me, right? You look at your rotation with Noah Syndergaard next year: Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Carlos Carrasco, Taijuan Walker. That's a great way to start your offseason before you even get into the thick of other negotiations. We're going to talk about Marcus Stroman this offseason, how the Mets should bring him back too. But when you have a player pretty much just come out and say, "Hey, give me the qualifying offer. I want it. I want to be a Met," do it. When it's a player of that caliber, a 1-year deal, even at $20 million, that is a bargain for Noah Syndergaard. Bring him back, the God of Thunder. Give us another season. Give us 15 more starts at Citi Field at least. That's what the fans want. That's what he wants. And I'm hoping that's what Steve Cohen wants. We will see when we get to that point in the offseason. But it felt pretty good to see those comments. And I think it's going to be a big 2022 campaign for Noah Syndergaard. And you know what? Shout out to Dylan Short of Locked On Braves. He ain't coming there, all right? That's not happening. And glad to see it.